The Prodigal Daughter. The Mercedes pulled up to the iron gates of the Okonkwo estate just as the sun began its descent over Lagos. Amara pressed her palm against the cool window, her breath catching at the sight of the sprawling mansion she hadn't seen in 10 years. The gardens were more manicured than she remembered, the fountain newer, shinier. Everything had changed, yet nothing had. "Are you sure about this, madam?" her driver Chukwu asked gently. He'd picked her up from the airport with questions in his eyes, questions she couldn't yet answer. "I'm sure," Amara said, though her hands trembled as she gathered her purse. "Thank you, Chukwu. I'll call you when I need you." She stepped out of the car, her heels clicking against the cobblestone driveway. The gate swung open automatically, as if the house itself remembered her, as if it had been waiting. The front door opened before she could knock. A young housemaid stood there, her eyes widening in shock. "Good evening. I'm here to see my family," Amara said. The maid's face went pale. But Madam Amara is already inside. You're... I know this must be confusing," Amara said softly. "Please just tell my mother that Amara is here. The real Amara." The maid stumbled backward, nearly dropping her tray. From inside the house, Amara heard laughter, the clinking of glasses, a celebration of some kind. "Who's at the door, Ngozi?" a voice called out. A familiar voice that made Amara's blood run cold because it sounded exactly like her own. Then she appeared at the end of the hallway, and Amara felt as though she were looking into a mirror. Her twin sister Adaise stood there in an elegant emerald dress, diamonds glittering at her throat, diamonds that had belonged to their grandmother. But it was the shock on Adaise's face that confirmed everything Amara had feared. "Impossible," Adaise whispered. "Hello, sister," Amara said, stepping into the house uninvited. "Surprised to see me?" For a moment, neither of them moved. They simply stared at each other. Two identical faces, two different lives written in their eyes. "Amara?" Another voice, this one male and achingly familiar. Chidi appeared behind Adaise, his hand instinctively going to her shoulder. Chidi. Her Chidi. Except he wasn't hers anymore, was he? "Chidi," Amara breathed. He looked older, more distinguished in his tailored suit. The boy she'd left behind had become a man. "It's been a long time. What is going on here?" Their mother, Obioma, emerged from the sitting room, her walking stick tapping against the marble floor. At 72, she was still formidable, still commanded every room she entered. But when she saw Amara, she froze. No, this cannot be." "Hello, mother," Amara said. "I've come home." Obioma's eyes darted between her daughters, her face draining of color. "Amara died. You died. The embassy called us. There was a fire in Johannesburg. They identified your body." "They identified someone's body," Amara corrected. "Someone who was carrying my passport. Someone who'd stolen it from my apartment the week before. But I'm very much alive, as you can see." Adaise found her voice, though it shook. "This is insane. You've been gone for 10 years without a word. 10 years, Amara. And now you just show up and expect what? A welcome home party?" "I expect the truth," Amara said, her voice hardening. "I've been reading the Nigerian papers online. I've seen the society pages. Seen you, Adaise, attending events as me. Seen the engagement announcement between Amara Okonkwo and Chidi Nwosu. Seen the articles about how Amara Okonkwo, beloved daughter of the Okonkwo dynasty, is set to inherit controlling shares of the family company on her 35th birthday." She paused. "Which is in 3 days." The silence that followed was deafening. "I can explain," Adaise started, but Amara cut her off. Can you? Can you explain why my own twin sister has been living my life, sleeping in my bed, wearing my jewelry, marrying my fiancé?" "Your fiancé?" Adaise's voice rose. "You left him, Amara. You left all of us. You ran away to South Africa without a word, without a goodbye, without a damn explanation. I had my reasons." "What reasons?" Obioma demanded, stepping forward. "What reasons could possibly justify abandoning your family? Abandoning your responsibilities?" Amara's laugh was bitter. "Responsibilities? Is that what we're calling it? I was 25 years old, Mother, and you'd already mapped out my entire life. Marry Chidi to merge the families. Take over the company. Produce heirs. I was suffocating. So you ran, Chidi said quietly. His eyes held pain, old wounds that had never quite healed. You ran, and you let us think you were dead. I didn't let you think anything. When I heard about the fire, about the mistaken identity, I tried to call. I tried to come back, but Father, she turned to her mother. Where is Father? Obioma's face crumpled. Your father passed away 5 years ago. Heart attack. The words hit Amara like a physical blow. She'd known, somewhere in the back of her mind, that too much time had passed. But hearing it made it real. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Are you? Adaz challenged. Because it seems like you only came back now, just in time to claim your inheritance. How convenient. That's not fair, Ada. Don't call me that. Adaz's composure finally cracked. You don't get to call me that. You don't get to walk back in here after letting us grieve you, after letting me grieve you, and pretend everything's fine. I'm not pretending anything's fine, Amara shot back. My own sister stole my identity. I saved this family, Adazi screamed. The words echoed through the foyer. When you died, when we thought you died, everything fell apart. The company stocks plummeted. Our investors panicked. Father's heart couldn't take the stress. He was already sick, and losing you, it killed him faster. Someone had to step up. Someone had to be you. So you became me. Mother's idea, Adaz said bitterly, glancing at Obioma. Wasn't it, Mother? Tell her. Tell her how you suggested it. Obioma's silence was answer enough. The board didn't know about Father's illness, Obioma finally said. The company was already vulnerable after your apparent death. If they'd known he was dying too, that there would be no clear succession, we would have lost everything. The vultures were already circling. So you replaced me with her. You were identical, Obioma said simply. Adaz knew the business almost as well as you did. She studied everything, learned your mannerisms, your speech patterns. It was meant to be temporary, just until we stabilized the company. Just until we figured out a transition plan. And then Father died, and the lawyers revealed the inheritance clause. Adaz continued. Everything, the entire family fortune, the company, the properties, all of it goes to Amara Conquo on her 35th birthday. Not to the eldest daughter, not to be divided between siblings. To Amara specifically. Father set it up that way because he always saw you as the heir, the chosen one. The bitterness in Adazi's voice was palpable, years of resentment bubbling to the surface. I never asked for that, Amara said softly. But you got it anyway. You always got everything. The attention, the grooming, the love. I was just the spare, the backup plan. And even when you left, even when you were supposedly dead, it was still all about you. Ada, so yes, I became you. I've been you for 5 years. I've run this company, made hard decisions, sacrificed everything to keep this family afloat. I've earned this inheritance, Amara. I've earned the right to be Amara Okonkwo. But you're not me, Amara said. And that man you're about to marry? She looked at Chidi, who'd been silent through the entire exchange, his face unreadable. He was supposed to be mine. Chidi finally spoke, his voice measured. I loved you, Amara. When you left, it destroyed me. I spent 2 years hoping you'd come back, making excuses for why you hadn't called, why you hadn't written. And then the news came that you were dead, and I felt guilty for all the anger I'd been carrying. He moved closer to Adeas, his hand finding hers. Ada was there through all of it. She understood my grief because she was grieving too. When she became you, when she took on your role, I started to see her differently. Or maybe I started to see you differently through her. I don't know anymore, but what I feel for her is real. How can it be real when you think she's me? Amara demanded. I know she's not you, Chidi said quietly. I've known for almost a year. The revelation hung in the air like a bomb. What? Adaizi turned to him, shock written across her face. Chidi's expression was pained. Little things gave you away, Ada. The way you take your tea, your fear of thunderstorms, which Amara never had, the scar on your left ankle from when we were children. I noticed these things and I knew. But by then, I'd fallen in love with you. The real you, not the version of Amara you were playing. Tears streamed down Adaizi's face. Why didn't you say anything? Because I was afraid you'd stop being yourself around me. And I loved who you were when you forgot to be Amara. Amara felt something crack inside her chest. She'd come here expecting villains, expecting a simple story of betrayal and theft. But this was messier, more complicated. These were people who'd been broken by her leaving and had tried to piece themselves back together with whatever fragments remained. I want to show you something, Obioma said suddenly. All of you, come with me. She led them through the house to her private study, a room Amara hadn't been allowed to enter as a child. Obioma pulled out a locked drawer and retrieved a letter, yellowed with age. Your father wrote this the week before he died, she said, handing it to Amara. He made me promise to give it to you if you ever returned. Amara's hands shook as she unfolded the paper. Her father's handwriting, still strong and clear, brought fresh tears to her eyes. My dearest Amara, she read aloud, if you're reading this, then you've come home. I want you to know that I never stopped looking for you. Even after they said you were gone, something in my heart refused to believe it. A father knows. I've hired investigators across 3 continents, spent fortunes trying to find you. I don't know why you left, but I hope you had good reasons. I hope you found what you were looking for. Her voice broke, but she continued. I'm writing this because the doctors say I don't have much time. My heart is failing, but not from grief. I want you to know that. You are not responsible for my death, no matter what anyone tells you. I'm writing this to tell you about the inheritance, about why I structured it the way I did. It wasn't because I loved you more than your sister. It was because I knew the weight of this empire would crush anyone who wasn't ready for it, anyone who didn't choose it freely. Amara looked up at Adaz, seeing her sister's expression shift. She read on. Adaz has always been strong, stronger than she knows, but she was never meant to carry burdens that weren't hers. The company, the expectations. They were my dreams, not necessarily hers. You, Amara, you were trained for this from birth. You understood the business in your bones. But I also knew it might destroy you, might make you lose yourself. So I built in a choice. The inheritance comes to you at 35 because by then, you'll have lived enough life to know who you are. And if you never come back, if you choose to stay away, then the company will be sold and the money distributed to charity. No one should be trapped by wealth they didn't want. The letter continued. But if you do come back, I want you to remember something. Family is more than blood. It's the people who stand by you when everything falls apart. It's the people who carry your memory, who keep you alive in their hearts even when they think you're gone. Look at who's been there, Amara. Look at who's held things together. And ask yourself if you're really the only one who deserves to decide what happens next. Love, Father. The silence after she finished reading was profound. He knew, Amara whispered. He knew you'd been running the company as me. Impossible, Obioma said. He died before... No. Adazi's voice was small. Remember, Mother? 3 days before he died, he called me to his bedside. He looked at me for so long, and then he touched my ankle, right where the scar is. He smiled and said, You're doing a good job, my daughter. Both of you are my pride. I thought he was confused from the medication. But he knew. He knew, and he approved. Amara sank into a chair, the letter still clutched in her hands. I don't know what to do. Why did you come back? Chidi asked. Really? Amara was quiet for a long moment. I saw the inheritance announcement online, and I felt angry, so angry that even in death I couldn't escape what Father wanted me to be. I wanted to come back and reject it, sign it all away, prove that I didn't need the Okonkwo name or money. She laughed without humor. But that was a lie. The truth is, I've been alone for 10 years. I've built a life in Johannesburg, a career as a photographer, made friends, had relationships. But I was always running from something. And when I saw that announcement, I realized I was running from the fact that I missed you all. I missed home. Then stay, Obioma said simply. I can't. Not like this. Not with Ada having to give up everything she's built. She's right. She's earned it. The inheritance clause, Adaz said slowly. Father's letter said it comes to you at 35 to give you a choice. What if we both choose? What if we make this decision together? How? Adazi stood straighter, And for the first time that evening, Amara saw not her mirror image, but her sister, her strong, capable sister who'd held their family together when everything fell apart. We restructure the company. You take your rightful place as Amara Okonkwo, legal heir, but we change the leadership structure. Co-CEOs, equal partners. I've been running this company for 5 years. I know every department, every employee, every secret. You have the vision the training father gave you. Together, we'd be unstoppable. The board would never approve. The board doesn't have a choice, Obioma interjected. According to the inheritance clause, once you turn 35, you have absolute controlling interest. You can restructure the company however you want. But what about you? Amara looked at Chidi. What about your wedding? Adaizi and Chidi exchanged glances. We'll have to come clean, Adaizi said. Tell everyone the truth. It will be a scandal. It will be more than a scandal, Chidi said. There could be legal implications. Fraud charges, potentially. We'll handle it, Amara said firmly. Together. If I've learned anything in the last 10 years, it's that secrets destroy families. No more lies. No more pretending to be someone we're not. She turned to Addie's. But I need you to understand something. I'm not the same person who left 10 years ago. I won't let the company consume my life. I want balance. I want to still be able to take my photographs, to travel sometimes, to have a life outside these walls. I can live with that, Adiz said. Can you live with me marrying your ex-fiancé? Amara looked at Chidi, really looked at him. She saw the man he'd become, the way he looked at her sister with tenderness and understanding. And she realized that what she felt wasn't jealousy but relief. She'd loved him once, but she'd also left him. She'd made her choice 10 years ago, even if she hadn't fully understood it then. He's not my ex-fiancé, Amara said softly. He's your fiancé, and I'm happy for you both, truly. The wedding that took place 3 months later was nothing like the society event that had been originally planned. It was smaller, more intimate, held in the gardens of the Okonkwo estate with only close friends and family present. The guest list had been carefully curated after the truth had come out, after the scandal had rocked Lagos society and the business world. Amara stood beside her sister as maid of honor, wearing a dress of deep purple that complemented Adai's ivory gown. They were no longer trying to be identical, no longer mirrors of each other. Adais wore her hair in intricate braids while Amara kept hers in the short natural cut she'd adopted in Johannesburg. Small differences that marked them as individuals, as themselves. As Chidi and Adais exchanged vows, as they promised to be honest with each other, to see each other for who they truly were, Amara felt her mother's hand slip into hers. I'm sorry, Obioma whispered, for all of it, for the pressure we put on you, for suggesting Adais take your place, for not fighting harder to find you. We all made choices, Mother, Amara whispered back. Some good, some bad, but we're here now. That's what matters. The company restructuring had been announced the week before. The Okonkwo Corporation would now be led by the Okonkwo sisters together. The board had been skeptical until their first joint presentation, until they'd seen how Amara's innovative vision, combined with Adaz's operational expertise, created something neither could have achieved alone. There had been questions, investigations, even a few lawsuits threatened, but the Okonkwo family lawyers were among the best in the country, and the narrative they'd crafted was carefully honest while strategic. A daughter returning from the dead, a sister who'd stepped up in a time of crisis, a family reuniting. The public ate it up. After the ceremony, as the sun set over the gardens and the celebration moved inside, Amara found herself alone by the fountain. She watched the water dance in the fading light, thinking about all the paths her life had taken, all the choices that had led her here. Beautiful evening, a voice said behind her. She turned to find Chidi, his tie loosened, a champagne glass in his hand. My wife sent me to check on you. Your wife, Amara smiled. That sounds good. It feels good, Chidi admitted. He joined her by the fountain. Are you happy, Amara? Truly happy with how things turned out? She considered the question. I don't know if happy is the right word. Content, maybe. At peace. I spent 10 years running from this place, from what it represented. But coming back, facing everything, It wasn't as terrible as I'd imagined. It was actually freeing. What will you do now? Besides running a multi-billion-naira corporation with your sister? Amara laughed. I'm planning a photography exhibition. Local artists, street photographers, people whose stories don't usually get told. Ada thinks we can host it at the company headquarters. Turn it into a whole cultural event. Working together looks good on you two. It feels right, Amara said. I was so afraid she'd resent me that we could never get past what happened. But Ada understands me in a way no one else can. We're twins. We shared a womb. That bond doesn't break, even when we hurt each other. Chidi nodded. She talks about you constantly, about growing up in your shadow, but also about how proud she is of what you've accomplished on your own. You inspired her, Amara, even when you were gone. I never meant to leave her. She knows. You were both trying to figure out who you were, separate from the Okonkwo name, separate from each other. You just took different paths to get there. From inside the house, they could hear laughter, music, the sounds of celebration. Adaize appeared in the doorway, her face glowing with happiness. She waved at them, beckoning them to come inside. Come on, Chidi said, offering Amara his arm. Your sister wants to cut the cake, and apparently she won't do it without you. As they walked back toward the house together, Amara felt something settle inside her. She was home. Not the home of 10 years ago, with all its suffocating expectations and predetermined paths. This was a new home, one they were building together. A home where both sisters could exist, could thrive, could be themselves. The prodigal daughter had returned, but she hadn't come back alone. She brought with her the person she'd discovered in exile, the woman she'd fought to become. And in return, she'd found a sister who'd become her own person too, who'd stepped out of the shadows and claimed her own light. As they entered the house, as Amara took her place beside Adaize to help cut the cake, as cameras flashed and guests cheered, she thought about her father's letter, about choice and family and the weight of wealth and legacy. She'd chosen to come back. Adaize had chosen to stay. Chidi had chosen to love them both in different ways. And together they were choosing to forge something new from the ruins of old expectations and broken promises. Make a wish, Adaize said as they held the knife together over the elaborate cake. Amara closed her eyes. She wished for continued healing, for honest conversations and shared burdens, for the courage to keep choosing each other, even when it was hard, for a future where the Okonkwo name meant something they'd built together, not something that had been forced upon them. When she opened her eyes, she found Adaize watching her, and in her sister's face she saw her own hope reflected back. They cut the cake together, and the room erupted in applause. Months turned into years. The Okonkwo Corporation flourished under the sisters' joint leadership, becoming known not just for its profitability, but for its innovation and social responsibility. Amara's photography exhibitions became annual events, showcasing emerging Nigerian artists and donating proceeds to arts education programs. Adaize and Chidi had their first child, a daughter they named Neka, which meant Mother is Supreme, in honor of Obioma, who'd held the family together through its darkest days. Amara was there for the birth, holding her sister's hand through the labor, meeting her niece with tears of joy. She has your eyes, Amara whispered to Adaize as they sat together in the hospital room, the baby sleeping peacefully between them. She has our eyes, Adaize corrected. She's part of both of us. And it was true. Neka would grow up with two mothers in a way, with an aunt who loved her as fiercely as any parent, who took her on adventures and taught her to see the world through a camera lens. She would grow up in a house where honesty was valued over perfection, where mistakes were forgiven, where being yourself was more important than being what others expected. On Amara's 37th birthday, 2 years after her return, the family gathered again at the estate. This time there were no secrets to reveal, no identities to unmask. Just a family celebration, complete with Amara's favorite meal and a cake that Adaize had insisted on baking herself despite having a chef. As they sat around the table, 3 generations of Okonkwo women, plus Chidi, who'd become as much a part of the family as any of them, Obioma raised her glass. To my daughters, she said, her voice thick with emotion. Both of you. I spent so many years trying to mold you into what I thought you should be, into what this family needed. I was wrong. You've shown me that the best thing we can be is ourselves, And that strength comes not from conformity, but from embracing our differences. To being ourselves, Adeza echoed, raising her glass. To choices, Amara added. To family, Chidi concluded. They drank, and as the evening wore on, as stories were told and laughter filled the air, Amara looked around the table and realized that this was what she'd been searching for all along. Not escape, not freedom from responsibility, just acceptance. The freedom to be completely herself within the embrace of people who loved her. She'd been the prodigal daughter, the one who'd left and returned to find her place taken. But she'd discovered that places in families aren't fixed, aren't singular. There was room for both of them, room for all of them. Room to make mistakes and find forgiveness. Room to grow and change and become. Later that night, after the guests had left and the house had quieted, Amara and Adasi found themselves on the balcony of their childhood bedroom, looking out over the city lights of Lagos. They stood shoulder to shoulder, two women who shared a face but had found their own identities. Do you ever regret it? Adasi asked quietly. Leaving? All those lost years? Amara thought about it. Sometimes, but then I realized that those years made me who I am, and coming back made you who you are. We needed to find ourselves separately before we could be together like this. That's very philosophical, Adasi teased. I learned it from my twin sister, Amara shot back. She's pretty wise. She must take after you. They laughed and the sound carried out over the city. Two voices that were identical but unique, harmonizing without trying. Thank you, Adasi said, for coming back, for giving us a chance to fix this. Thank you for keeping it together while I was gone, for being strong enough for both of us. We're stronger together. Yes, Amara agreed, we are. And standing there under the Lagos stars, in the city where they'd been born and raised and had nearly lost each other, the Okonkwo sisters made a silent promise to never let pride or fear or expectations come between them again. To always choose honesty over comfort, truth over convenience, to be each other's mirror, not in appearance, but in accountability, reflecting back the best versions of themselves. The prodigal daughter had come home, but more importantly, she'd helped them all find their way home to each other. The end.